It's doing me a bad stuff.
It started with one sentence from my young Caucasian daughter. Don't back down.
It all started with a strange conversation between my daughter, Lena, and my wife, Serena. They were in the kitchen, whispering and laughing so softly it immediately made me suspicious. When I walked in and asked what was so funny, Lena just said it was girl talk and that I wouldn't get it. But the feeling in the room was off. They were definitely hiding something. Later that night, I heard them again in the living room. This time, I caught a snippet of what Lena was saying. "It'll boost your woman energy." "Trust me," Serena giggled nervously. That specific laugh she has when she knows she's doing something wrong. I stepped into the room and asked what that meant. They both tried to play it off as a joke, but their eyes told a different story. Over the next week, Serena's behavior got stranger. She was on her phone constantly, always running errands and dressing up for no apparent reason. One evening, she quickly blocked her phone screen the moment I walked into the room. When I questioned her, she said I was being paranoid. But paranoia doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's born from patterns, and the pattern here was impossible to ignore. Every time I brought it up, Lena would jump to her defense, saying I was too strict and that her mom needed freedom. I reminded her that marriage isn't a prison. She just shrugged and replied, "Maybe Mom needs an adventure." A chill ran down my spine. The next night, Serena announced she was going out with friends. She left smelling of a perfume she only wore on our anniversaries. I waited up. Hours crawled by. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and checked the location-sharing app we'd both installed years ago. Her phone was at a hotel downtown. My throat tightened. I tried to tell myself there could be a perfectly innocent explanation, but a gut-wrenching feeling told me otherwise. I drove there, my heart pounding, preparing myself for the worst. When I got to the hotel parking lot, her car was there. I just sat in my own car for a long time, debating whether to go inside. Eventually, I forced myself to walk in. The woman at the front desk couldn't give me any details, of course, but the pity in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. I walked out before I could make a scene. The next morning, Serena came home trying to look cheerful, but the guilt was all over her face. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, avoiding my eyes. I asked her where she'd been. She claimed the girls had a sleepover. When I asked which girls, she froze for just a second too long before changing the subject. Just then, Lena came downstairs and immediately sensed the tension in the air. She pulled Serena aside and whispered, "Don't back down." That one sentence shattered something inside me. I realized my own daughter was encouraging this betrayal. After Serena left for work, I confronted Lena. I asked her what she meant by that. She rolled her eyes and said, "I needed to let Mom feel alive." I asked her how cheating on your husband makes anyone feel alive. Her face went pale. I told her she didn't have to answer. I wasn't an idiot. She finally admitted, quietly, that Serena had been complaining to her about feeling unseen in our marriage. But instead of encouraging her to talk to me, Lena had encouraged her to rebel. I couldn't believe my own daughter had actively pushed my wife into another man's arms. That night I confronted Serena directly. At first, she denied everything. Then she blamed stress. Then she blamed our boring routine. Finally, she broke down and admitted she had made a mistake. But this wasn't just one mistake. One mistake doesn't involve secret hotel stays and late-night calls. She swore it wasn't serious. I asked her why she confided in our daughter instead of me. She said she needed support. I told her that support doesn't mean having a cheerleader for your affair. She just cried, saying she was confused. I was overwhelmed with a mix of anger, disappointment, and pure heartbreak. The next day, I started gathering the evidence, every message, every screenshot, every detail of her affair. I wasn't planning on revenge at first. But when I saw she was still texting him, something inside me hardened. I decided to call the man. He answered casually, having no idea who I was. When I told him, there was a long silence on the other end. He finally stuttered that Serena had told him they were basically separated. I just laughed. A bitter, hollow sound, and hung up the phone. The following weekend, we had a family gathering planned at my brother's house. I didn't cancel it. Instead, I decided to bring the truth with me. When everyone was settled, Serena was trying her best to act normal, with Lena sitting right beside her, a silent accomplice. I stood up and cleared my throat. Calmly, I laid out all the facts, all the evidence. Serena's face went white. Lena buried her face in her hands. My family listened in stunned silence. My brother turned to Serena and asked if it was true. She could only whisper, yes. My mother looked at her and said she had destroyed something beautiful. Lena started crying loudly, sobbing that she didn't mean for it to go this far, but it was too late. The damage was done. I told Serena she needed to move out. She begged for us to go to therapy, for one more chance, for anything. But trust, once it's broken like that, doesn't just glue itself back together overnight. She packed a small bag and left with Lena that night. The house felt so empty, but at the same time, it was strangely peaceful. A week later, Lena came back home and apologized through a flood of tears. She said she never wanted to ruin our family. I told her she wasn't responsible for her mother's choices, but she was responsible for encouraging them. She nodded, knowing it was the truth. As for Serena, she started sending me long messages saying how much she regretted everything. I read them, but I never responded. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. And sometimes walking away is the only way to find your peace again. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know you're not alone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.